We are back. New York City baseball. Past, present, and future, and this is a Yankee edition. It's right in the middle of spring training 2017. I'm Ralph Tyko from the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and my guest today is a fellow from back east who claims to be one of the best Yankee fans ever. I think he is, because the co-host of this show, one of them anyway, Wayne Unger, knows him, introduced him, and said he'd make a great guest. I just worry about pronouncing his name properly. Robert Deininger?
Deininger.
Deininger? How about that, yeah. Robert? Close enough?
Yeah.
Why don't you try it for me? Let's see if you can pronounce it. Pardon me?
Deininger. The I silent.
All right. Well, now try Tikachinsky. I used to be a Tikachinsky when I was in kindergarten. So that's not so easy. So I'm sensitive to mispronunciations. I apologize for that. Where you from originally, Robert? And how'd you become a Yankee fan?
I'm from Seabright, New Jersey, and my dad introduced me to the Yankees when I was really young. I've been watching them since the early 80s.
Okay. What was your first game? Do you remember that?
Oh, man, I think I was 7 years old, and they were playing the Detroit Tigers. I remember sitting up in the left field, out in left field.
And who was pitching? Any of those recollections, or
no?
Just the experience of the day?
Yeah, it was the experience. It was. I loved it.
The vast expanse of the green in the middle of the Bronx. Just. It's almost a juxtaposition, but it's nice. I felt that way with the Polo Grounds when I was a kid, and probably a little more so because the outfield went like 483 feet to the center field. But were you young enough to have seen Mickey play, or?
No, but my dad, he was a huge Mickey Mantle and Elston Howard fan.
Then you will love you love Wayne's show, Weighted Donuts, I'm sure.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was asking if you enjoy Wayne's show, Weighted Donuts, which is named for the invention that Elston Howard came up with to eliminate players from having to swing 2 or 3 bats at a time in the on-deck circle to get a heavier feeling. And this is a metal thing that you slide over the knob of the bat, goes all the way up, and it's literally looks like a donut, and it increases the weight of the bat. So when you take it off, seems like you're swinging a lighter bat, which has made his estate some money. He rested his soul. He died very early in life, in his 50s. Great ball player. How do you follow the Yankees? Do you follow them on MLB TV? What's your way of keeping up?
The Yes Network on television. Yeah.
And who in the metropolitan area do you consider to be the best source of Yankee news?
I listen to the Michael Kay show a lot, whenever I can.
Okay. What do you like about that? What do you dislike? I'm just trying to get an idea of where you're coming from.
I just been listening to him for a long time, and he breaks down things very well. You know, I'm just fond.
Okay, I'm out in California, so I don't get that show. Does he have the woman that he does the? Boy, did he work with a woman for a while?
Yeah, he did. I think now he's working with Don Greco.
Okay.
I think that's his name.
I want an analysis of what you think is going to happen this year with the Yankees.
I'll tell you, they have a lot of potential to put up runs this year, but the starting pitching is going to hold them back. I'm excited to see what some of these young kids could do, but the starting pitching is it's just not good.
Okay.
Besides Tanaka,
I am of one that feels that Pineda is really going to come into his own. Pineda,
I'm hoping so.
Wayne is laughing at that. I can't pronounce names. He had an outing yesterday that was spring training nonetheless, but he seems to be harnessing it.
He had 5 perfect innings yesterday. It was great. He seems to have one really good game followed by 2 subpar games, and hopefully he could put it all together for a full season. And hopefully, but he definitely has the stuff to do it.
He's got a blazing fastball that really moves.
Yeah.
And, those days that he puts it together, like yesterday, again, what was it, 5 perfect innings, did you say?
Yeah, 5.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Judge, the right fielder, the rookie, the big guy. What do you think?
Yeah.
Think it's a little early?
I think it's a little early, yeah. I mean, he came in today, I think, batting over 400, but dropped down to 265. If you can keep the strikeouts down, he could have a good year, but I'm too early to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak.
He seems to be striking out less in spring training, again, a little early. And there's an old baseball adage, never fall in love in March or in September.
Yeah.
We'll see, but they've all but given him the right field job. And Hicks is coming back. He got a little solidity there. Ellsbury seems like he's having a good spring. He looks rejuvenated a little bit. I want to ask you about the wisdom of picking up Carter, who strikes out more than anybody on the roster, but hit 41 home runs last year.
Yeah. The idea was to platoon him at first base with Greg Bird, but Bird has just looked so good this spring that I think you kind of have to let him play, and see how he does.
Yeah,
I mean, Bird is
Holiday at DH. Who's primed for a comeback. Holiday has played well basically his whole career, except out here when he was with the A's. He really didn't like it, wanted to get out on purpose. I don't know what it was, but right smack in the middle of the prime of his career, the A's got him, and he just tanked. So,
and he's a .303 career hitter. I mean, he's a good hitter. A nice veteran presence to have in the clubhouse too.
Right.
Yeah.
For the pitching down the line, what do you think? Do you think Sabathia is capable of putting it together for a comeback season? It's been a couple of 3 years now. He had a bad knee. It's always the thing with, is he carrying too much weight? And with a pitcher, how can you tell? Some of the great pitchers of our time have been somewhat roly-poly. I mean, Cologne, and you can go back to early Wynn and Mickey Lolich. Do you think his weight could be really, as he gets older, really starting to work against him in terms of putting strain on the rest of his body? Do you think that's
It could be. Yeah.
Fair to say?
I mean, it's definitely fair to say. I mean, this spring I think he's only pitched a couple innings, but he's given up 6 runs on 8 hits in like 2 2/3. And the one thing you can rely on with Sabathia is to eat up the innings. But yeah, he was 9-12 last year, I think, and he's going to give you 5-6 innings.
As a compliment. They call people, call players or pitchers in particular, of course, inning eaters.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's all you can say, that he eats, eats the inning.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see him put together a solid season, but it just seems like he's at the point now where he'll give you the 4 or 5 innings, but he'll also give up 4+ runs too. Yeah.
Right.
And it's a shame too.
Several deals involving Cleveland and the Cubs with Chapman and with Miller. Are you happy with what they got back?
Oh, absolutely. That kid Gleyber Torres, he's lighting it up. He won the MVP in the Arizona Fall League this past year, and I think he came in today batting something like 478, I think, something like that. With he had a couple home runs, 5 doubles, a triple. I mean, he looks really impressive. Yeah.
I wonder what would happen if he pushes the issue, and you think they could maybe turn some of DD maybe into some pitching.
I think they could definitely do something because I don't think you're going to be able to keep this kid down in the minors too long. I can see him being up by like mid to late summer, whether it's Headley getting moved or DD or maybe a Castro. They're going to have to find a way to get him in that lineup.
What's interesting, I'm a bit of a Met fan, more so than the Yankees, I must admit to you.
Yeah.
And the the Mets are faced with pretty much the same situation, and it's a pleasant one. It's what I call an excess of riches. And they've got a shortstop, Rosario, with a solid big leaguer. I think Didi's a terrific ball player.
Yeah.
And the Mets have Cabrera, who, although kind of a hot dog, I got to say, he's good. He's got power. But Rosario is maybe a half a year away, and depending on how things work out down the stretch, other teams' needs, this, that, and the other thing. Both New York teams could be, at least in the very near future, if not this year, next year, I think those two shortstops are going to show up and knock on the door and not be denied. That's just my opinion.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I mean, this kid. Oh, I'm sorry.
I want to know, from a Yankee fan, what you think of Girardi, what you thought of Torrey, and how much did Torrey depend on Don Zimmer? I'm thinking back, and Zimmer was the bench coach, and I thought he was pretty effective. Do you agree with me on that?
No, absolutely. Yeah, Zimmer was invaluable. I mean, talk about a guy with a lot of experience. Well, Girardi, I sometimes I think he plays it a little bit too safe sometimes, especially when he has runners on base. You don't see a lot of hit and running going on with the Yankees. And
that's a very good point. But then again, sometimes a manager will play to his talent. And
true.
This is they are steadily getting younger.
Younger, yeah.
And guys like Rodriguez, you weren't going to hit and run with those guys.
No.
They're pretty stationary.
Yeah.
So
but
we'll see,
players
if he can adjust.
Yeah.
We'll see if he can adjust. Go ahead.
Ellsbury and Garner have to do a better job this season of setting the table for the guys that follow him. Gardner last year, I think, had 19 stolen bases for the season. He's got to do better than that. And both of them got to do better than a 260 batting average. I mean, with Holiday and Sanchez and Bird following them in the lineup, it'll help they're on base and a little bit more effective.
Brings us to catching in Sanchez. What a phenom!
Oh yeah.
Do you see cracks? Do you see cracks in the armor?
Not really. And he handles the pitchers really well. Even I see that in spring. He's got a cannon for an arm behind the plate. And he's picking up kind of right where he left off. He came in today batting almost 400 with 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. He looks pretty impressive. I'd like to see how he'll do over a full season, but very impressed with him.
He does have a gun for an arm.
Yeah.
We'll say that. That's a given. And that doesn't slump. It's like speed.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes with catching, it'll weigh you down as a hitter. Your hands, a little minor, and I use that in quotes, minor injuries can really nick away at you.
Yeah.
But if you have a good, solid defensive catcher, and Sanchez looks like that, then offensive slumps can be tolerated, and it's nice to have two young guys like Judge and Sanchez breaking in at the same time, just as they got so much younger. And I think if you look at it realistically, this won't be the year. This will be the year to make advances, great advances, hopefully. And if Pineda comes on, like I think he will, because he does have good stuff.
He has wicked stuff.
Yeah, you cannot get him to throw a straight fastball.
Yeah.
So, and you can't. I don't think you can teach that. Some guys pick it up. They, grips. This is the other thing. But if your ball moves, your ball moves.
Yeah.
His does. I could say those three could really be the basis of good things to come. And Castro gets a lot of overlooking. Like he went to second. He was a pretty good shortstop too.
Yeah.
He got.
I like him. He's a bit of a streak hitter, either hot or cold, but I like him. I like him a lot.
Yeah. He got moved out when he was with the Cubs by Russell, who's came from the A's, and he's really terrific. It goes, it depends on where you are, what organization you're in, who's ahead of you, who's behind you, who gives you a chance. I do know that Castro is just somewhat overlooked by baseball itself these days. You don't hear his name like you used to, and I think that's a good thing. To be quick, you don't have to have all publicity to be a piece in the cog, and baseball's a team game nonetheless. Speaking of pieces in the cog, I wonder if there's a possibility that Headley may really be able to put what was once some terrific potential. When he came up with San Diego, he had a bullet, going. He was coming up with a bang, and he never really lived up to it. But he's got some good power. He had a home run the other day to left center that just sailed. And I thought, well, be something if you can harness him a little bit. And some guys develop late.
Yeah. Well, we got him. The one thing we knew was he was going to be a solid third baseman, even though he's had his problems over the past few years. But he does have good power. It'd be nice to see if he could put together at least one good offensive year this season.
Right. All right, let's go back memory lane a little bit.
Okay.
You don't really remember the game that in your first experience. You remember the experience more than the game itself.
Yeah.
Tell me about a Yankee game that you went to where you said, coming home, you said, "Wow, this is."
I'm a huge fan of Don Mattingly, and I went to Game 1 of the '95 Wild Card Series, and that game, I never had so much fun in my life than I did that night. I mean, 56,000 going crazy, getting to see Donnie play in his first playoff game. I mean, that was something I'll never forget. I mean, he went 2 for 4. I think he had a single and a double. Yankees won. It was great.
Nice. Good memory there. What do you think of Gossage coming out and publicly and basically dishing Rivera, who is a product of his time in terms of 1 out, 1 inning at the most closers that we have. Things were different in Gossage's day. I used to think a lot of his ranting and raving about stuff was to keep his name in the public eye so he'd be elected to the Hall of Fame. Out of sight, out of mind, that kind of thing. But this is different. He's already in the Hall of Fame. And I really think, every generation can go back and say, well, when I played, it was this and it was that, and the old time this, and, it was the way it was. I think he's taken it further than need be, and it's starting to sound like he's a grumpy old man. He's a bitter man.
Yeah, He's definitely opinionated, and he does take it a little bit too far. It seems like he's only criticizing when you hear him speak nowadays. I don't agree with him on most of the things he has to say, unfortunately, because he was a great Yankee.
I guess I want to know, as a fan, does it tarnish your image of him?
A little bit.
Okay.
I can, and I remember him. I could still remember him in the late '80s with the Yankees.
Right. I remember the Yankees had Lyle, and then they brought him in, and they got rid of Lyle, and it was like Steinbrenner money was going all over the place.
Yeah.
Did you, as a fan, were you appreciative of him as an owner? Were you proud to be a Yankee fan with him as, were you happy? Like, as a Met fan, I'm repulsed that Wilpon is still the owner of the team. But notwithstanding that, Steinbrenner had his detractors. How do you look at his overall report card as an owner?
I liked him because he would go out and spend the money, but it wasn't until Gene Michael really put together that team in the '90s. But you had to appreciate Steinbrenner going out and getting those big names to come to New York. You can't help but like George Steinbrenner. He's just one of those people. You just can't help but like him as a New York fan.
Okay. I didn't ask you, how old are you?
39.
39. Oh, you're already looking back, and you get nostalgic on stuff. and you're so much younger than me. It's unbelievable. So you did make me feel like a granny a little bit on the show.
Sorry about that.
But that's not your fault. But you are tremendously articulate, and you really helped give a rundown of a fan's eye view of what's going on. And I really had a good time with this. I appreciate it, and you were terrific. I hope you'll come back and guest again.
Oh, I would love to, and I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. And you just enjoy this upcoming baseball season like everybody else. And I'm going to end the segment by just telling everybody to keep on keeping on. Sometimes, that's all you can do in the world that we live in. It's spring. Spring is the time for hopes and dreams. And hope it's a good year for you, and I hope it's a good year for your team.
Thank you. You too.
All right, Robert. Have a great one. Everybody out there, we will see you when we do. Adios.